Welcome to the Love Spark podcast. My name is Tonya Mavaros, a relationship consultant and coach. I utilize information and tools backed by years of research with my clients to help them deepen connection and strengthen their relationship.
And I'm Stevi Mavaros, Tanya's wife and a dedicated lifelong learner and advice giver.
Our podcast aims to bring relationship resources to all couples by not only telling you what they are, but by completing activities together in real time so you can hear them put into practice.
In addition, we'll also be interviewing real couples to learn more about their story, how they've handled conflict, managed difficult moments, and discuss the biggest successes they've celebrated.
We hope you enjoy and find us a valuable learning tool for you, your partner, or future partner. Let's get started. Disclaimer: this podcast discusses sensitive topics that listeners may find activating. Listening discretion is advised. The 7 principles of making marriage work. We are going through essentially the workshop because we thought that it would be a good idea to share with you what our responses were, but to give you a little sample of what it would look like to work with me as your consultant and coach, keeping in mind that we can tailor this in a way to very specific issues that are happening within the relationship. So with that being said, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to really just share our first activity together. So the way that we're doing this is by reading the chapter in which the activity aligns with.
Yes.
Doing the activity.
Right.
Then we're going to come back here, podcast what our results /
Answers
answers
to the
were.
activity.
Yes.
Because it's like a workbook.
And then we're going to dive in a little bit deeper to some of the things that we read that we think are kind of important to know.
Yeah.
Fair?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to go first or shall I go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Chapter 1, Inside the Seattle Love Lab, The Truth About Happy Marriages. 7 Principles book, pages 1 through 19. Chapter 1. So this is the workbook activity. Reflect and journal after our reading. What are your goals or hopes for completing the 7 Principles class and or book?
What did you answer?
My response was to gain a better understanding of my partner and how to have a healthy, lasting relationship. Which I think we're doing pretty good at having a healthy, lasting relationship, but you can always get better.
That's fair. Okay, so my response to what are your goals or hopes for completing the 7 Principles class or book? My response was to continue to strengthen our marriage while exploring who we now are as individuals and how that will affect our relationship. I also hope this will help us better navigate our perpetual problems.
Solid. Which you say because you've read the book
before. Yes. Which part? The perpetual problems part?
I know. Yes, I just know that that's a term that comes from.
Yes, it does.
The Gottmans.
It does.
Yes.
Okay, so how do you feel about each of our responses?
I think they're on track. Like, we are in a good place, but like we want to know more so that we can do more to stay in the best place we possibly can.
That's fair.
Right? And that's the goal of this. Give ourselves as many tools as possible.
You know, I like this because one of the things they talk about is, yes, this will help relationships that are currently struggling, but I also like it because I don't want to say it's relationship proofing, but it is helping you build a better foundation and learn better tools and skills while you are in a good place.
Right.
Because when we think about what happens when you are in a negative space within a relationship, a lot of times it feels like it's survival mode, right? And you're kind of in this cycle where maybe there's a lot of negativity and you can't have conversations and all these different things. And yes, you can go through the work of doing this, and it might be a little more difficult because you're already in a space where things are a little shaky versus building a skill or a habit while you're in a good place.
Right. It's like, does your work day go by better and faster when you show up to work like happy for the day, or if you're already frustrated walking in the door, is your day going to end up dragging on, right?
Right.
If you're in a bad place, it's not that you won't show up and do the work, but you're not necessarily going to be thrilled about it the whole time.
Yeah.
And it won't be ineffective, but it's still, I think can be overall a much more positive experience to improve your
Hmm.
relationship while things are good.
True. It's like, do you want to learn to ride a bike while you don't need to ride the bike? Or do you want to learn to ride the bike while you're running from a bear, where you're being chased by a bear,
Right.
right? That's going to be hard.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. So, question number 2.
Fair. What is the best advice you've received about relationships? I really like this question.
Oh.
Um,
But wait, why do you really like this question?
because I feel like people give you relationship advice all
Mm-hmm.
the time,
Mm-hmm.
but like not all of it's good. Hence the next question, which is what is the worst relationship advice you've ever gotten?
Okay.
But
So it's
yeah, no, I like these questions. I would say that the best advice that I've ever gotten about relationships is your relationship is what you make it.
ooh.
Hmm.
Ooh,
And
that's so good. That
I
is really
know, right?
good.
Well, and I like it on a couple of levels,
Mm-hmm.
right? Your relationship is as good as the effort you're willing to put into it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Is one of the things that says.
Mm-hmm.
But another thing that says is your relationship doesn't have to look like what anyone else says it should look like.
Mm.
You
Mm-hmm.
make the rules, you make the good times, you decide what your relationship looks like. It's kind of like our house, right? We don't have a TV in our living room, which is super weird for most American homes. That's
Yeah.
crazy that we don't have a TV in our living room.
Yeah.
But like, why would we put one in here? Just because that's the normal thing to do? Like that, it doesn't make sense for how we live.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, like your relationship is what you make it means exactly that. You make your relationship. You craft it to be exactly what you want it to be. It doesn't have to look like some rom-com, copycat relationship where everything's all hunky dory,
Yeah.
but you know, you want to establish what makes you happy, what looks good for you for
Yeah.
your relationship, what works for you,
Yeah.
what doesn't work for you. I mean, shoot, I come from a long line of marriages where one partner was absent 90% of the marriage due to work travel,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's not something that works for everybody, but it's
Yeah.
worked for a lot of people in my family. But your relationship is what you make it.
I like that.
Mhm.
All right. What is the best advice you've received about your relationship? You can't fix the other person.
Yeah.
However,
Mm.
this should have been followed up with, but you can support them as they fix themselves,
Mm.
right? And I think that that was a piece of relationship advice that I did get is you can't fix the other person. And it's
Yeah.
true, right? And I believe that sometimes people start a relationship
Mhm.
with the idea of who a person could be.
Yes. The
And then that,
potential.
yeah, their potential. And then that ultimately leads to its own problems, right?
Mm.
So I
Mhm.
guess really what I could have put in here too is understand if you'll be happy with the person that you have now, right?
Mm.
Because that's really what the question is.
Yeah.
Really, what the statement to me says is that you can't fix the other person. So if you can't fix the other person, can you be happy with who they are now
Right.
for the long term?
Right.
And not thinking about the potential. I think that we have all been in a relationship where, because part of the thing about dating that's
Mhm.
exciting is thinking about where things can go,
Right.
right?
What it can become.
What it can become and who that person could be to you.
Right.
However, if we're too busy looking at the future and not looking at the present, you might be missing things that you're not considering before maintaining or having a longer relationship with that person. And in the same regards, if you're in a relationship with a person, you should also be asking yourself that same question. Are
Yeah.
you trying to fix this person? And if this person never is fixed or never changes, can you maintain this relationship with the person as they are now?
Right.
And I think that was kind of a very surface level advice, is you can't fix the other person.
Mm-hmm.
But when you really stop and think about what does that actually say, to
Right.
me, it says all those other things.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't mean that you can't be with somebody, because we're all
A work in
fallible,
process.
right?
Yeah.
Fallible. That word. I did say that right the first time, right?
Yes, we are all fallible.
Thank you. And we all have things to work on, and we all
Mm-hmm.
are work in progress. So I can't expect a person to be perfect either. So am I
Right.
willing to be their support as they work on themselves?
Mm.
And to me, that's one of the big things, is recognizing, is your partner willing to continue to work on themselves as well?
Right.
So I think, yeah, that was the caveat to that piece of advice.
Solid.
All right.
All right. So then what is the worst advice? I would say the worst advice, and I don't know that this is necessarily the worst advice I've ever gotten, but it's
Mm-hmm.
advice that it's something I've heard often that I just very much disagree with.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, if they aren't jealous, they don't really care.
Oh, no.
Oh, I hate that. I
I have
hate that one.
never, yeah, I've heard that. As I say, I've never heard that. No, I've heard that.
I was going to say, there's no freaking way
Yeah.
that you've never heard
Yeah.
that. Like, even if it's not said explicitly like that,
Mm-hmm.
that the even like when your friends, oh, do this, try to make them jealous, that kind of advice that people give of like, get attention by attempting to make your partner jealous, or if your partner doesn't get jealous or doesn't act out in a certain way because of
Mm-hmm.
jealousy, then it means that they don't care. Bullshit.
Yeah.
Honestly, just all of that bullshit, to all of that. Because here's the
Preach.
thing, right? Like, I just inherently, I am not a jealous person, right? Does that mean that I want you to go screwing around? Like, no, not at all. But it also means that, like, if we go to a bar and we're dancing and I turn around and some guy is dancing with you and you look like you're having a good time, I'm not upset about that. Guess what? My person is having a good time. Yay
Ooh,
for her.
would you be upset about it if it were another woman?
No, I don't think so.
Mhm.
But I'm just not jealous. Like, you're coming home with me. I know where you're going to end up in a couple hours.
Yeah,
What do I have to be jealous about?
I mean,
I have a
from like
life with you.
a psychology standpoint, I'm just going to say this and not knowing if it's true or not, but my personal viewpoint is jealousy stems from insecurity.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing, is like, if I can't be secure in my relationship, then please go ahead and leave.
Yeah.
If I can't trust you to not fuck around, then please do go. Go on and get. But to me, it's like, what is the purpose of jealousy? I don't want to have to be jealous. I want to be able to trust that my partner is going to act with integrity and
Mm,
understand what my boundaries are.
fair.
You know that my boundary is like, you can dance with someone, you can grind on someone. I might be upset if I see your hand slip into somebody's pants. That's a problem. If I see somebody else's hand slip into your pants, that's a
Ooh, what if somebody
problem.
grabs my ass? What about that?
Are you mad about it?
I mean, if I'm not mad about it.
If you're not mad about
Yes, if
it,
I'm not mad about it.
I guess I wouldn't be bothered by it. I guess, like, to me, anything kind of over the clothes is like, what's the danger in that?
Okay.
What's
Mhm.
the concern there?
Yeah.
Because to me, I'm like, that's about as concerning as you watching porn. Like, that's not, maybe it's going to go somewhere and maybe it's going to go somewhere without me. But if it does, that's a whole other thing,
Yeah, that's
right?
fair.
We're not talking about dancing at the bar anymore. Now we're on a whole different topic.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, the whole like, jealousy is a good and healthy thing. No.
Fair
No.
enough.
I disagree. I think it causes more problems than it ever has solved. and I don't think it's a good look. I just disagree with it altogether. I
Fair.
think you should have more trust and security in your relationship.
Fair. I would say it's a very unattractive quality.
To me, yes, absolutely.
Okay. Mine, what was the worst advice? Never go to bed angry. Okay, I
Mm,
know this is super cliche. It is
I,
a terrible piece of advice to me. And it's a really cliche answer, but I would say that is the worst advice ever
it is
because
cliche because it's super common.
it is very common. And I think to me, it's the worst advice ever because we know that when we are not giving people the time and space to feel their feelings, to regulate their body, to process what has already been said or what they're thinking, that can lead to very negative consequences, right? This can lead to people saying very hurtful things that maybe they didn't mean in a moment. This can lead to people just choosing not shutting down entirely and not having any kind of a conversation. So now you're left in this limbo about where things stand, where are things going, right? And
Right.
so I think within the 5 years we've been together, I think we went to bed angry maybe only twice.
Yeah, that sounds accurate.
And even then, we have made the rule that even if we are upset at each other and we go to bed, we don't avoid physical affection or physical touch, right? It's not
Right.
like you stay on your side of the bed and I stay on my side of the bed. We still
Cuddle.
cuddle and spoon.
We angry
We
cuddle.
angry yeah. Yeah, we do.
We do. We angry
We
cuddle.
angry
Which,
cuddle.
like, honestly, I support it. I think everyone should have an angry cuddle every once in a while. You're upset? That's fine. Be upset. Lay down together. Embrace each other and be upset. That's
But
fine.
that's fine. But I would say that even when we have angry cuddled, just that closeness
Hmm.
and physical affection, it like melts the anger.
Yeah, it's really hard to stay pissed when you're
It's really
cuddling,
hard to
but
stay
like,
angry.
but that's the thing is like it takes some of the emotion out of it, but it doesn't necessarily solve the problem, right? So like you're
Yeah.
still allowed to feel the way you feel about it, but like I'm not gonna punish both of us because I'm upset about something.
Yeah.
Like I'm upset. I want that comfort. So I'm
Yeah.
going to take that comfort regardless of the fact that I'm going to get the comfort from the same place I'm getting the upset from.
That's fair.
I'll deal with both.
That's fair. Um so yeah, I think that is definitely not reasonable to try to
Very
talk through
interesting.
things, especially if you're hitting a point of conflict later in the afternoon or the evening hours.
Mhm.
Like when you think about it, you've already expended so much energy dealing with your day, your
Yeah.
work day, whatever that may be, whatever that may look like. Then if you're home, maybe you have kids,
Mhm.
and so now you're dealing with that,
Yep.
and now we're upset with each other. And so it is definitely okay, but I think the important part is specifying when you're going to come back to the topic,
Right.
right? We want to make sure that this isn't something that just gets swept under the rug and we keep moving on, pretending it didn't happen. Um,
Well, and
Coming back to the topic, I think, is really important, and setting a time and really making it a purposeful conversation together when you do come back to the topic, even if you are going to bed angry.
right. Right. Absolutely. And I think something too that I don't know if we've really talked about before, but we don't treat each other differently when we're upset with each other.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, we don't we we might be a little more clipped in the way we speak to each other,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't get disrespectful in the way that we
Mm-hmm.
talk to each other. We don't stop acknowledging each other. We don't do the silent treatment. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we still continue to treat each other with the same respect and affection as we do when we're not upset with each other.
Yeah.
So in that way, like going to bed angry is fine as long as you are not like shoving your partner out of bed because you're angry.
Yeah. That's fair.
Like as long as your behavior is acceptable even in anger for
Mm-hmm.
everyone to go to sleep. I think
Fair.
it's important. Okay, so the question is, what do you believe makes a relationship succeed and question mark and then fail question mark.
Mm-hmm.
So to the question of what do I believe makes a relationship succeed, I would say intentional effort.
Mm-hmm.
Like genuinely, I think intentional effort is all you need
Mm.
to make your relationship exceed.
Yeah, that
Exceed,
encompasses that.
succeed.
That
Something like
encompasses
that.
a lot of things. When we just
Yeah.
put a basic label, intentional effort, that's everything
Yeah.
from, I would say, self-care to
Thoughtfulness.
yourself,
Yeah.
thoughtfulness to your partner, the way in
Mm-hmm.
which you navigate conflict, the way
Mm-hmm.
in which you navigate special occasions,
Mm-hmm.
to family drama. That's a very good answer. I
Your
really appreciate that.
daily life, your
Hmm.
special occasions, everything in between.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Um, what do I believe makes relationships successful? Here we go.
Exceed.
Working as a team to put the relationship first, so you do
Mm-hmm.
not try to win a conflict while being present in the relationship and moments. So
Mm.
basically, you're putting the relationship first, right?
Right.
Um, and you also want to make sure that you're present within all things.
Yeah.
So conflict, amazing moments, sad moments, all of it. When you come from a space that how we are nourishing or nurturing our relationship is more important than my own individual, um because that's the hard part, right? Is I think that people will get conflicted of saying, well, you should put yourself first in relationship, right? We've also
Mm-hmm.
talked about this. It's very
Mm-hmm.
important that you do, but the relationship comes first over, I would say, just your petty
Wants.
wants and
Relationship
desires.
needs should come before personal wants.
Yeah.
Solid.
So what do you think causes a relationship to fail?
I think that what causes relationships to fail is when you stop thinking about each other.
Mm,
Like you stop thinking about your partner's feelings
mm,
during conflict. You stop thinking about your partner when you're, at the store and you don't just pick something up to because you're thinking about them. You fail your relationship in 1,000 little ways when you stop thinking about your partner
mm.
and aren't keeping your partner as a priority in your mind.
It's those tiny daily moments that make up
Mhm.
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. But even in the big moments, like if you stop thinking about your partner, are you really going all out for their birthday? Are you really doing anything super special for your anniversary if you're not thinking about your partner? Like even in the big celebratory moments, to truly celebrate in a way that is meaningful to both of you, you have to think about your partner. You can't just think about yourself.
That's fair. That's true. It is a good one.
Thank you. What do you think makes a relationship fail, my love?
So I wrote, not recognizing and preparing for the inevitable changes of yourself, your
Mm.
partner, and your dynamics.
Ooh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. If you're not prepared to adapt, that's a.
Well, I think about it like, and we talk about this quite frequently, how, you know, working with couples, one of the things that comes up quite frequently is how things are different compared to when we first started dating,
Mm,
right? And we
mm-hmm.
always talk about this because we know that you're
Yeah.
really on a love
Chemical
rush. You're on a
cocktail.
chemical
Yep.
cocktail, you're in the love rush.
Mm-hmm.
And that is definitely mainly biology happening,
Yeah.
right? But once you get past that space, if you haven't started creating a good foundation within that space, it gets hard to maintain a relationship because you were only relying on the biology.
Yeah.
But let's say you did create this foundation. Well, if you always envision your relationship as it is, right? Because we
Mm-hmm.
know the future's coming, we want to be present, but we know that things are going to change eventually, but we're not preparing for those changes. We're not having continuous conversations about what those changes may be, who your person is, how your partner is as a person. That I feel like sets people up for failure in the relationship, because you're still holding on to a past.
Right.
Of you're stuck in a moment of time, essentially.
I was gonna say you're stuck in a box of
Yeah.
expectation.
Yeah. And so it is a fine line, or a balancing act of looking to the future and where things can go, but right, not expecting it to be that way. So we're not
Right.
projecting who somebody could be,
Right.
yet while being positive about the future and still understanding that
Being in the present.
Yeah.
Right. Those are good ones. I
Thank
think it's
you.
interesting that we have very different answers, but and I still wholeheartedly, I hold to my answers, but I very much agree with your answers as well.
Same here.
Yeah.
Right? Same. I wholeheartedly hold to my answers, but very much agree to your answers.
Yes.
So now that we've done that, and we've written our own personal thoughts and opinions on it,
yes,
one of the things that I wanted to definitely make sure that we covered was myths about marriages.
Yes. So
right?
in chapter 1, there's a lot of discussion about, what people think makes marriages work,
But
versus
what people also think makes marriages fail.
Right. And how that lines up or doesn't line up mostly with the actual research.
Yeah. So the first myth is neurosis or personality problems ruin marriages. The book says research has found only the weakest connection between run-of-the-mill neuroses and failing of love. The reason we all have issues we're not totally rational about. Preach!
Yeah.
I do. We call these triggers enduring vulnerabilities, a term we borrowed from Tom Bradbury of UCLA. So I have heard that, but I feel like this also falls along two different lines, right? One is basically if you have one partner who's a little neurotic and have personality problems, you're going to fail. But then we've also heard opposites attract, right?
Right.
Where you get the neurotic person who's with the more calm person, and so they balance each other out. I feel like myths are everywhere, of course.
Right.
But having somebody who's neurotic doesn't necessarily mean the relationship will fail. I think that you and I are a very good example of this. I would say I'm a little more neurotic than you are.
You're more high strung.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're more high strung, but I'm more prone to depressive episodes that affect my ability to be present within our relationship. Whereas you're more prone to spiraling when things don't go well or aren't going your way.
That's true.
But, I think the important thing that they say in this chapter is that if you can accommodate each other's crazy side and handle it with caring, affection, and respect, your marriage can thrive. And that's a quote directly from the book. And not to say that you should stay with somebody who is mentally ill in a way that makes you unhappy, but just saying that just because somebody's mentally ill does not mean they're incapable of having a thriving, successful marriage.
Right.
But you do have to be able to accommodate that as a partner. And as a person suffering from mental illness, you have to help your partner learn how to accommodate you.
Yeah. It goes back to what I had said, that you can't fix another person, but you can be a support to a person who's willing to fix themselves.
Right.
And ultimately, even if they choose not to go through a process of treatment, and whatever that looks like, whether that's somebody
Kanye?
who is...
Sorry.
Whether that is somebody who is who's a little OCD about things at the house, to somebody who is full-blown OCD, or somebody who has major depressive episodes. It just really comes down to, again,
what can you handle as a partner and still allow you to thrive?
yeah. And also, I would say it also kind of circles into what we talk about all the time is keys to the kingdom, right? If you have a level of neuroses or personality just traits that people find probably annoying, um, can you tell your partner how to work with you? Do you even know how to work with yourself is another question.
If you don't, you're probably not ready to date.
If you don't, true, and you should probably be thinking about that and working on it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that was myth number 1. Myth number 2.
Mm-hmm. Myth number 2, common interests keep you together.
Right. It does not. It's not true.
Basically, only if you enjoy them together. Like, if you have the same interests, but you can't do them together because you're too, like, we have friends that can't really play games together because they're too competitive
Yeah.
and it's not good for their relationship. So, like, having shared interest isn't necessarily always a good thing, especially if you have conflicting ideas about how to go about those interests.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think the other thing too to keep in mind is when you don't have shared interests,
Mm-hmm.
this gives you something to conversate about,
Yeah.
converse about, where
Mm-hmm.
you can teach your partner something. Maybe they don't,
Yeah.
maybe it's not something they would want to do, but maybe they find it fascinating learning about those things, right?
Yeah.
It gives you something that you could experience together from time to time that
Mm-hmm.
can change up your dynamics and maybe your date night or whatever.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily mean you don't have to talk about it.
Right.
That it doesn't necessarily mean that you are to not talk about things that
Mm.
you do not do jointly either.
Right. Right. You can have common interests and you can have completely separate interests, but the way that you go about your life together, as long as that works, it doesn't
Hmm.
really matter either way.
Yeah, common interests doesn't always align to a healthy relationship.
Third myth about
You scratch my back or a good marriage is one in which a couple intentionally reciprocates one positive action for another, such as paying your partner back for washing dishes by taking out the garbage.
right.
This is something that we do talk about a
Mm-hmm.
lot, and it's not really necessarily in the terms of reciprocity, but it's in the terms of we have just defined how we operate within our household.
Right.
And there are times though that you and I both will say, oh, I feel like I'm not doing enough because you did X, Y, and
XYZ.
Z.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so even for us having the relationship that we do,
Mm-hmm.
we still fall into a feeling of we should be doing more because my partner has selected to do whatever
Right.
that was, right? And so
Right. And the thing is, it doesn't need to be and shouldn't be tit for tat,
no, I
as
shouldn't.
long as you feel that it's balanced and you're each, no one's holding more than what they can handle or
Yeah.
having to do all the tasks that they detest the most while the other person gets all the easy jobs or whatever.
Yeah.
Yes, tit for tat. Look for that
Okay.
episode. So another myth, the fourth myth about marriage, avoiding conflict will ruin your marriage. Not
Mm.
necessarily. Now, I know you would probably disagree with this as being a myth because Tonya, I don't think can live without dealing with conflict. I don't think you would do well in any relationship where conflict was avoided.
Well, and that's the thing, right? It's definitely personal.
Yeah,
Because in the book, there is an example of a couple who get into conflict and then they ignore it, but they still report that they're very happily married.
right.
And if that works for people, great.
Mhm.
Personally, for me,
Mhm.
that would not work.
Yeah, and as a very conflict avoidant person, I will say that, you know, when emotions are high, I certainly think we do both walk away, but we don't ignore that there's conflict.
Which some people do, and that's really what this is pointing to.
Right. But
Yeah.
I think when you get 4 decades into marriage, you get to a point where you do just have the same perpetual things, and you're just, some days it
Perpetual
just
problems.
annoys you beyond your capacity to deal with the other person, and you just got to go do something else where you're not looking at their face and wanting to punch them in it.
And that was, did you say 4 decades because of the book? Because that was the
Yeah.
example. Yeah.
Yeah,
They had
because,
been married for 40 years.
well, right. And I think that in a long-term committed relationship, you get to a point where you know the things about each other that drive you nuts,
Mm-hmm.
and you can choose to talk about and readdress those over the years, or you can choose to just deal with the fact that this is something that really annoys me, and sometimes I'm going to need a minute, you know.
Yeah.
But I would say it's definitely a personal decision in how much, like, you know, there, you bring up, there was a night where you said, "Are we not going to talk about this?" And I was like, "Oh, well, I thought it was fine, so I didn't think we needed to talk about it."
Mm-hmm.
And like, I still feel like we probably, I'm not mad that we talked about it. I'm very glad that we did, but I don't think it would have been a big deal not to hash it all out in detail,
Mm.
because I had already emotionally let it go.
Oh, that's so fascinating.
So but I think that's my point, is like, you have to know what can you emotionally let go and what can you not. Because if you can't emotionally let something go, then every time you look at your partner, you're annoyed with them.
Yeah. I would say too, so really this comes down to understanding yourself as a person and how you would prefer to operate within a relationship, right?
Yeah.
We know that some people, like myself, would not be able to handle that. And so the other thing is to understand, is it a non-negotiable? Is it a
Right.
non-starter? Or is there a level in which that you're willing to say, okay, I can date somebody who is conflict avoidant
Mm-hmm.
if
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, and 3,
Right.
or depending on 1, 2, and 3. So
Right.
I think that the big takeaway about this for sure is really understanding yourself as a person and
Yes.
what your tolerance level is
Yeah.
within a relationship.
Sure.
The next myth. Oh. This I think is actually one of my favorite things to talk about.
Yeah.
Um Affairs are the root cause of divorce.
Wrong.
Okay. Uh this is why I love talking about this, because this is what the book specifically says. In most cases, it's the other way around. Problems in the marriage send the couple on a trajectory to divorce, also send one or both of them looking for intimate connection outside of the marriage.
Right.
And there have been a couple of people that I know that have been a part of an affair,
Mm-hmm.
or who have
Been
found
cheated on.
their partner having an affair.
Right.
And when this happens, the conversation has always come back to, what were the problems in the marriage or the relationship in the first place?
What caused the affair?
Right? And that's not to say that it's okay to have an affair if your relationship is in a bad way, right? That's not excusing or dismissing the action and the behavior, but the affair has always led up to something happening within the marriage. And that is usually what it comes down to, is one person is not feeling heard or seen or cared for, or they're not feeling that they have that friendship within the
Right.
relationship where they can have conversations
Right.
and discussions about where things are at.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do find it fascinating that it's something I do like to talk about. And I think that's why. I think it's because it really leads into the next myth, which you will cover. But I think that's one of the reasons why I like talking about it, is because people just, I think a lot of times, either look at it on the surface as, it's the affair, this is
The
terrible,
affair is the problem.
or they're not ready to confront the actual issues, to acknowledge that this is what led to the affair. Never saying that it's okay, but there is always a cause.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Which, you're right, it does lead in to this next myth, which is, men are not biologically built for marriage. Which, first of all, bullshit. That's like the same the same mythos that makes people think that men are not built for monogamy, but women are. And what do we see now? And the book does talk about this, but now that women are just as out in the workforce as men are, women have just as many affairs as men do.
Actually, slightly higher.
Yeah, slightly higher now. But it used to be men had affairs because they were out and about. They met people. They weren't stuck at home all day long.
They
Like
had
that,
the
they had the opportunity.
opportunity.
Right. They had the opportunity. But men, I think, can be just as naturally inclined toward nesting and building a
Mm-hmm.
life as women can be, and women can be just as inclined to be non-monogamous as some men can be.
I think
I
part
don't
of
think
the
it's not. I mean, the point is that it's not gender specific, and if you're using that as an excuse, you need to look a little bit closer at what is driving that belief.
well, the other thing is the argument stands when people believe this
Mhm.
myth. The argument comes from, well, it's just not in nature. You don't see it
Ugh.
in nature. And my favorite,
Uh,
which always comes in, is everybody wants to uh, defer to the lions, right?
yeah.
But we also forget that I think it's seahorses mate
Mhm.
for life,
Mhm.
penguins tend to do so as well,
Mhm.
right?
And both of those species, the male is the primary caregiver
Hmm.
for the young very early on in development as well.
Yeah. So it's really looking at what do you want to confirm
Mhm.
your narrative that makes you feel like this works for
Right. Right. Are you saying men aren't biologically built for marriage because you like to dip your dick in everything that you walk past?
you. Maybe.
Or, or are you saying that because in your experience in all the men you've been surrounded by, men don't stay faithful,
Hmm.
which means that it's your social circle or familial circle that's really the problem. It's the people you're surrounding yourself with.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you, not everyone's like that. Even if it feels that way, it is not that way.
Which thank you for pointing feels. I
Mm.
don't know if we ever recorded a podcast about this, but you and I have had a conversation about what something feels like versus what
Mhm.
is fact. And we've had
Yes.
to even get to a point where we were tracking things
Mhm.
because it felt one way, but
Right.
when you actually tracked the data,
Yeah.
it was not the feeling that was happening. But
Right.
talking about sex specifically, if you're like, what were we talking about? Talking about sex. How often, how frequently were we having sex? And there
Right.
was a moment where it felt
Mhm.
like we weren't having sex very frequently, but when we actually tracked it factually, we did. So then the question became was, why
Right.
does it feel like it's not enough?
Right.
And
And
that
that
was a whole nother conversation.
right, but it allowed us to get to the deeper bits, right? And
Yeah.
the more important parts of that. Everything starts, as some surface level behavior. But
Hmm.
what's driving that behavior? So, I would say, don't put the onus on your gender or your genetics or your biological makeup or society. You are making choices to participate in the systems that built your worldview.
Yeah.
You don't have to continue to choose to participate in those systems. If those systems don't work for you, don't participate in them.
Fair enough.
The gender binary doesn't work for me, so I don't participate in that system.
Yeah.
But in any case,
So the last myth is men and women are from different planets.
which
Ugh.
did you ever see or read the book?
I've heard of the book, but I have never read it. The book that they're referring to is it says, according to a rash of best-selling books, men and women can't get along because males are from Mars and females are from Venus.
Yeah,
That's basically the title.
my
Men are
mom
from Mars and women are from Venus.
Yeah, my mom had the book, Men
Oh
Are
my
From
God.
Mars, Women Are From Venus, which
Yeah.
I always thought was a weird book for her to have, but
Did you ever read it?
no, because I
At the
I
time, it
I
wasn't.
mean, yeah, by the time I don't think she had it after I was 10,
Mm.
so
Yeah, I've never read it. Even moving into this space of working with couples, I have no desire to read it. It could be interesting just to it could be interesting,
Right.
but at the end of the day,
Here's the thing. Are there biological differences between men and women that inform how they think sometimes? Yes, absolutely. Is that true across the board for everybody? No, it's not, and therefore that's not an accurate thing to base any interaction off of.
you know,
Not all men have supremely masculine brains. Not all women have extremely feminine brains.
mm,
So, yeah, there are differences in the way that men and women think and the
mhm.
way in which we anatomically and physiologically exist within our brains. But it's not accurate to say all men, all women. It's way too much of a spectrum
I
to
mean,
do
honestly,
that.
it's not
But
accurate to say all of anything in heavy
right.
generalities, although I talk in them quite frequently.
Yeah.
I am very well aware that is not the case for all people all
Right.
the time. Um, which we will get to this deeper in the book, but it is important to understand that there, like you said, there is a difference in
Mhm.
biological responses based
Yeah.
upon men and women, and that does play a role in conflict and how that comes up, which is many
Yeah.
chapters from now. But ultimately, with that being said, that is not something to say it is going to be the success or the demise of a relationship. And in fact, a quote in here says the determining factor in whether wives feel satisfied with sex, romance, and passion in their marriage is by 70% the quality of the couple's friendship. For men, the determining factor is by 70% the quality of the couple's friendship. So, men and women come from the same planet after all.
Right. And I think that's the important thing to keep in mind is that while there are differences that may be related to your genders, if you're of opposite genders, you can't inform your relationship by what's true about men or what's true about women. You're individuals creating something completely unique to the two of you. It should only be the two of you that inform that.
Can I tell you, there is still, even now, um, people that I know that will say, oh, "There's just a man.
Mhm.
He's just a man. Oh, just men." And I know
Well,
that we say it very jokingly from time to time, but
mhm.
there are people that I still know who think that,
Genuinely
who
believe that.
genuinely believe it.
Right, not as just a stereotype based on, something fairly common, but a truly held belief that this is always the case.
Yeah.
And yeah, no,
Mm-mm.
not at all.
Definitely not. Yeah, so those are the myths. I think I do want to read something out of the book that I think is very important to keep in mind. And we talked about this at the beginning of the podcast. So it says thousands of couples have now attended our programs. Almost all of them come to us because their marriage was in deep distress. Some were on the verge of divorce. Many were skeptical that a simple workshop based upon the 7 principles could turn their relationship around. Fortunately, their skepticism was unfounded. Our findings indicate that these workshops have made a profound and powerful difference in these couples' lives. Also, furthermore, we found that prevention workshops in which couples worked on their relationship before conflict began to take its toll were even 3 times more effective than our workshops designed for couples who were already in trouble. So, if that doesn't give you some thought and pause,
Mhm.
then that's okay. But really, it comes down to, I think, a lot of our responses were very much looking at the process of building or maintaining where things are at before they get rocky versus
Mhm.
trying to handle them when they're rocky, right?
Yeah.
One of the things I talk about a lot uh, when talking about finances, right, is from a couple's perspective, is are you going to really try to start a budget and stick to that budget during the holiday season?
Mm.
If you're already a perpetual shopper and you're
Right.
already somebody who doesn't really budget very well anyways, and you're not mindful of your money and how it's being spent, I'm not going to say that you should start doing that during the holiday season. I mean, you could, but the odds the odds of it being successful during that time of year, which is already a huge spend year anyway, is very low versus starting at the beginning of the year, building those core habits for when you get to the holiday season.
Right.
You now have the habits and the tools behind you to navigate a time that is that stressful and where spending does tend to get out of control. Right. And so when looking at it from a relationship standpoint, if you're building those tools and habits while things are great and everything's amazing, it's going to be easier to build those tools and habits, but you're going to be more likely to utilize them when things finally do get stressful.
Listen, we show up to practice for game time. All right? You don't learn your skills during game time. That's when you put them to the test.
That's true.
Exactly.
Also, you don't try new things during game time either.
No, you don't. You better have run that play a few times during practice first. Shoot. Can't pull a new method out in the middle of an argument. It's a terrible idea.
Even supplements. You can't try a new supplement on game day. You don't know how that's going to impact your body.
That's right.
So like for your relationship, we don't pull in supplements such as
love bombing when we're arguing. That's not going to fix things.
It's not. New intimate products and ideas when sex is not going very well anyway.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you so much for joining us in our first dive into our 7 principles of making marriage work.
It's going to be quite the journey. Ultimately, there will be roughly 12 to 15 episodes within the series. Each episode is based upon the workbook and the chapters in which you navigate the lessons within the book itself. And we hope that you find it helpful. Before we end the show, there's a special invitation for you. I want to invite you to join the upcoming Love Spark Focus Group. It's my privilege to guide couples to relationship wellness, but I can only do that by getting honest feedback and discussion about the process. This focus group is free and can only accommodate 50 couples.
We are also looking for couples who would like to join the discussion by being guests on the podcast. So head over to milovespark.com to apply for both opportunities.
As always, thank you for listening. Find us on Instagram or Facebook at LoveSparkDates. And until next time, listen intently, speak kindly, and cherish each other.
Indeed.